Hey, what is up guys? It's your boy Speed here, and today we're going to be looking at how much potassium is in a banana. But actually we're going to be looking at Meepo here, one of the top heroes of the patch. And a lot of people might be saying, oh Speed, this is because of Smurfs. And fair, maybe to some extent, right? The hero is used by Smurfs. But I think for the most part, Meepo is actually just a very strong hero. Ever since they changed the poof recently, it one-shots creep waves with 2 Meepos at level 7. This is a big deal. It really amps up the hero's farm and just makes it take neutrals faster as well. And yeah, on top of that, I think the hero's been pretty decent for a while. It got buffed, and now it's good. We're going to be watching Kiyotaka, one of the best mid players in the world, absolutely dumpster a game. 23, 4, and 6 is a ridiculous score. And let's see how he does it. We're going to teach you guys everything about Meepo and how to enable this hero. Alright, before we get into the main part of the video, I do want to let you guys know that I'm not only posting videos here on YouTube, I also frequently post videos on the website. If you don't know what I'm talking about, almost every single day I'm posting a new video to the GameLeap website. We're going to teach you guys in depth about how to get to the next level. So if you want to become absolutely broken, click the link down below and sign up. So okay, first things first, we're going to be watching mid Meepo, which I actually think mid Meepo or safe lane Meepo are the best roles. I think mid Meepo is good because you get early levels and you can use one of the clones to run to a side lane while the other one just farms the lane, right? So you can farm and gank at the exact same time. It's really powerful. And then the safe lane, I like it because I think these camps are really convenient. Right, these back 2 camps are easy to farm with poof and very efficient. And then taking the portal allows you to get behind the enemy. And Meepo is the best safe lane portal user in the game. Because similar to mid Meepo, he can farm with one of the Meepos, farm the lane, and send the other Meepo through and gank the safe lane. You're going to be directly behind them. It's very, very strong. You can also dive the tower too. The off lane struggles a bit because this camp is hard to farm. It gets contested. You can't really farm the Ancients that early. You can, and that's why off lane Meepo's okay, but it's a bit harder. Same thing with this camp, and hitting the portal is a lot harder. It's further away from you, it's more obvious, and it doesn't even put you close to the enemy. So I think out of all the roles, I like offlane Meepo the least. All right, in terms of his lane, he has net here, which you don't want to have. This ability sucks. He took it to try to get a kill, which is okay, right? If you're gonna get first blood, yes, you can skill net. It's a 2-second disable. Obviously, that's pretty good. 2 seconds flat of disable is nice. So the reason why you want to take Poof at level 1 in basically every single game is because Poof now does 120 damage. Previously, it did 80, but the nice thing is creeps don't have magic resist, right? And so the spell being magical is better because, well, it's mainly used to farm. Yes, technically, maybe it scales a little worse. I don't even know if that's the case because it does more damage. There's no way Pure is better, essentially. This is just almost strictly a buff, and it's a heavy one at that. Right, and so you'll notice for these creeps in lane, right, Meepo's better than ever because, okay, he gets this one. He misses this one, but that's because it was at 129. Poof, level 1, does 120 magic damage. It kills range creeps from just below half, so he's slightly early, which put the creep to 9 health and got it killed by the melee creep, unfortunately. So, yeah, you gotta be careful about that. From there, in terms of items, you're just gonna ship out Reshine. You can buy a salve if you think you need it for the lane. Maybe you got counterpicked by a Huskar or something like that. And then, yeah, you're often going to rush boots. And the reason why you rush boots is because then when you hit level 4, right, you have boots so you can send your Meepo to a side lane, right? So that guy can get in and get roaming. And in the lane, you want to avoid as much damage as possible. And boots let you run away from the enemy mid laner, essentially. Like, yes, it also lets you potentially kill them as, oh boy, he's getting cooked here. He's dead. Okay, so moving on ahead at this point of the game, this is usually when you start roaming, right? Immediately when you hit level 4 and you have boots, you can actually just start killing the side lanes. He tried this game. You can actually see Zoe 3 gets off to a horrible start. It's funny because he ends the game 23-4. So it goes to show this hero is one of the best recovery heroes in the game. Even if you get off to a bad start, just play out the match. Odds are you're going to be able to recover. But okay, so usually what you do is you can send one of the Meepos to one of the rune and the other to the other rune and contest both of the power runes. That's good. You can also do the same thing for water runes and the same thing for bounty runes, and you should consider that, right? As you can see him do that here. Then what he does, which I will assume is optimal in this case, I'm not a Meepo expert guy, so I can't 100% confirm all these things, but he sends one Meepo to the neutral and one to the lane, right? I will say I do think it's reasonable, like completely reasonable, just to push in the lane with both of the Meepos. It allows you to show for less time. However, the problem with that, the reason why that's suboptimal in cases, is then the enemy has to be less afraid because they see both of the Meepos. So if you don't show one of the Meepos, then they have to be afraid. If it's low MMR, realistically, they're not thinking about you. Let's be real. If it's 2K, no one's thinking about the fact that Meepo isn't showing, so you could probably just push out the wave as fast as you can and then roam to his side lane with one of the Meepos. But yeah, he's going to switch to intreads every time he poofs, and he's farming up these defensive neutral camps. And so yeah, apparently this is just an optimal way to farm. You just have one of the Meepos jungling, and then only when you've pushed out the lane very quickly do you bring the other Meepo in with the poof. Obviously, you want to do this all on intreads. The only thing I'll say now is poof is a lot worse against mud golems. The mini mud golems don't have magic resist, so you can use it against them. And another thing you can do is you can send Meepos back to base. It's just really good because, well, they can poof out. You don't have to use TP. It doesn't really cost you anything besides a little bit of farming efficiency. Also, let's take a look at the execution here as he's going to pick up the DD rune. Sorry, my bad. Amplified damage rune, not the DD rune. It's not the same thing, guys. Yeah, he's going to poof the other Meepo in. Obviously, you want to not stack the nets. And in the early game, poof is way more damage and auto attacking. So if you can attempt to poof, right, it's always going to do quite a bit more. And oh, that's huge. Get 700 gold just about, well, total for the team for that kill. And yeah, he's going to once again continue to farm neutrals. At this point, you just continue to send the low mana Meepo back to base and use the restored one to farm the lane. The way he does it is cool. Because one of them is always jungling, it's going to get lower, it's going to be using more poofs, where the main Meepo is staying higher HP because it's just farming the lane. But yeah, you have two options as Meepo, guys. You can do what he's doing, you can do what Kiyotaka's doing here, which is just farm it up, right? You just play the farm game, or you can play a roam game. He decides to play the farm game. It's kind of dependent on whether or not you're owning your game, early game, right? If you get off to a good start, the better the roam will be, and your matchups. Just, you know, you're not going to be able to gank a Morphling that well, and you just have to keep that in mind. And yeah, he does end up roaming here, so as one Meepo farms up mid lane and the nearby area, he could have ganked bottom. Now, honestly, I don't know if he was afraid of rotation. This guy is just so greedy. So maybe he was afraid of these mass TPs, right? Which is actually pretty reasonable. I guess it's reasonable. He probably would have died, honestly. There's a good chance he would have died. But it is greedy, and I would recommend roaming in most games, guys. I can see why he would farm, right? Yes, he did get the big kill on Wind Ranger, which amped up his game, but he still would have hit an Ags probably around now, which is pretty insane. I think the Ags Rush might be the best build. It seems pretty OP to be perfectly honest, because you one-shot waves, he's level 11, so he gets the extra Meepo. Also, by the way, your ulti gives you magic resist, guys. I don't think people know that, but all the Meepos get magic resist. It's pretty cool. But yeah, once you hit level 11, this is the solo kill timing because the nets will last long enough. Also, he has maxed Ransack. That's something to keep in mind. This ability heals you when you hit creeps, and it heals you when you hit heroes. Only 1 point in the net. I do sometimes feel like 2 points in the net makes it way easier to catch, but whatever. He goes 1 point. Finds the Fury on here, Quellings through the trees. Good thing he has a Quelling. Picks up the Shield Rune, which is kind of based. And now, he would look kind of dead, right? But this is what's so stupid. He clicks Mega Meepo and Doom's like, okay, I don't know who to Doom. And then he dooms him anyway, and you're like, sure. But Wind Ranger wasn't focus firing the main Meepo, and the only Meepo that's targetable is the main Meepo. Like, what a stupid set of interactions. This is why this hero is just ridiculous. Like, what is this? You would imagine Wind is pretty good against this hero, because you have evasion, and then you burst the single target. Even the AoE is stun is pretty good. Like, but no, I mean, that swap was giga unnecessary. He's not even close to dying. It's not even close. And he can run back, like, he's just chilling around. He's like, yeah, I'm doomed, sure, but I'm Mega Meepo. And his team ends up feeding, I mean, what can you do, as he flings. And this is something cool, too. I mean, fling is kind of OP. Like, this Ags is just OP. It does 225 damage and a 60% movement speed slow. I don't know why it doesn't say how long the slow is, but 225 damage. And you have to keep in mind, when you fling like this, it lowers the HP of the Meepo back to what it was, right? So you have to be a little bit careful, but he flings both of the other Meepos, which had a good amount of health here, and kills off the Doom, right? Nukes him twice for 225, which is super high. Should try to poof here probably to get the Slark off of him. Okay, he's gonna kite out one of the Meepos. Can't really chase here, but yeah, I mean, you can see how ridiculous this timing actually is, as he's got to be a little bit careful. Yeah, I mean, the game is not great. He didn't enable his team much this game, and that's kind of the downside of his gameplay. Also, when you hit level 11, I mean, when you hit level, like, even when you hit level 7, 8, 9, I would say probably around level 9, you can farm Ancients, but it's really efficient when you hit level 11. Like, you can take stacks like this. He even nets it so it doesn't aggro to him as fast. And you can just kill neutral so fast as he buys a blink. This was actually dirty. I mean, this is just a nasty play. Crazy stuff, right? Blinks in, hits the net, second net, okay, gets Ice Path, and I thought it was done, right? You assume he's just kiting out. I don't know why he knew the one he flinged would be full health. How did he know? Does he just know the fully? He must be looking at, you know how it says your health on the left? So when you're playing Meepo, guys, it will show you which Meepo is high HP, and I think it flings the third one first. Or is it the second one? I honestly am not so sure about that, but yeah, he flings it. And then poofs it out. That's just ridiculous. Oh my gosh. All right, next up, he's gonna pick up his shard here, and what the shard does is it allows you to dig one of the Meepos. But it's pretty insane. If one of them is dying, you can make them untargetable. And so essentially, you can Mega Meepo to save a Meepo, you can dig to save a Meepo, you can just heal with auto attacks. You have 3 options to save yourself as he goes on the Doom here. One thing I will say is I feel like Shiva's is pretty good against Meepo, and that's an item that's in the meta, so something you have to be careful about. But yeah, old Meepo would just be dead here, essentially, right? Like, he blinks in and you kind of just get stuck in some ice path, right? You get power shot, but you can just click your axe and, I mean, you're like, okay, and then he poofs, and the Slark has to run away, because how the poof works with the Mega Meepo is, let's say you have 3 Meepos stacked, it poofs them all in the same spot. And heroes like Slark, like this guy, who would usually want to hit him, because Slark has ulti here, just can't, right? Because the poof pushes him away, and he gets swapped out. Oh, and you can dig and blink out on the Mega Meepo. Oh, that is so absurd. You're like Puck. All right, last team fight that I want to talk about, and then we will go into some of the late itemization of this hero and the talents. But yeah, I mean, even this team fight, right? So he digs one of the Meepos. I mean, this hero is just ridiculous. It's actually so ridiculous. How does it not put it on cooldown for the other Meepos? I don't know. That's just so wacky that it works like that. Like, it's so wacky because he's getting gone on here, dying, clicks Mega Meepo as one does. The real Meepo keeps the Blink Dagger because it always turns into the real Meepo, so he's able to reinitiate. A little slow on the net poof here. Could have been way faster on that, but whatever. And the poof does like, I don't know, this guy has a glimmer and it still did like 1/3 of his health. Just obscene, absolutely obscene. And he doesn't even have max Meepos yet. As he flings them all in, Ice Path hits and it's like, oh, my Meepo might have a chance of dying. Nope, dig. All right, now let's talk about some of the late game itemization and decision making. So at 15, both talents are pretty good. Honestly, the Earthbind cooldown's cool. You can spam Earthbind, and it's good with the Mega Meepo, but Evasion is just more reliable, especially against like Slark Wind Ranger, right? At level 20, the True Strike obviously is very good if the game calls for it. A little surprised he didn't consider it against Wind Ranger this game. That definitely seems pretty reasonable to me. But I don't know. Guess he just doesn't think that's his target. Hard to say, but there's obviously value. At level 25, honestly, the Pack Rat, I've heard it's interesting. You can equip any item in the neutral slot, but I feel like the Divided Stand clone is just more reliable and easier to use. Okay, in terms of late itemization, I've seen a ton of builds. I've seen Scotty, just so you can slow people and stick on top of them, and it gives you stats, of course. But the main item that you're going to be seeing is Disperser. Reason why? Well, Meepo's an agility hero, so it gives you a lot of damage, and the other Meepos only gain damage from stats, so it gives you a ton of agility. And then the main thing, even though you don't get mana burn on all of the Meepos, which would be super OP if you did, the main thing is when you use Suppress, this 15-second cooldown, it's an AoE, so it uses it on all of the Meepos, and all of the Meepos can't be slowed, they all get dispelled. So let's say they're all stuck in a Jakiro QE combo. You just click it, and then they're all hasted, and they can't be slowed. And then this Meepo hero that usually is known for getting kited, won't get kited at all. So it's a huge, huge buff. And then finally he goes Hex here, clearly just wants to kind of go somewhat of a burst build. And so as this fight breaks out here, you'll kind of just see the value, the general value in Disperser. Doom ends up catching the real Meepo with a Silence, which is actually a problem for this hero. And the main Meepo getting Silence sucks, because you can't use Mega Meepo, right? The other Meepos don't get the option, it's only the real Meepo. So the way to counter Meepo to some extent is to silence the main one. Like Legion Duel can be a real problem for him. But okay, he gets it out, and he clicks Disperser, and the main Meepo can just like book it out of there, right? Just book it out of there. And so it's great. Like, even if the main Meepo gets silenced, you can first of all dispel him if it's not Doom. And you can kite him out, which is great, right? Really, really nice option. Okay, and finally to finish up the game, he's got a Swift Blink and a Butterfly. I guess just maxing stats and yeah, really playing around the Mega Meepo, because it's not like the Butterfly gives evasion or base attack speed percentage to the other Meepos. I'm certain it doesn't. But something to note is that it gives the Mega Meepo just a bajillion damage, right? Because you'll see here when he eventually sieges, I mean, you want to optimally keep the Meepos separated, and then, oh my god, you siege so fast. But yeah, when you Mega Meepo, right, he's got 500 damage with an absurd base attack time of 0.29, right? Like, as low as it gets, essentially. And look at that. Boop, doop, doop, doop. Alright, thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed. Obviously this video doesn't really talk about the micro of Meepo or like the poof usage necessarily, like how to click the buttons, but there's so many videos on YouTube like that. So if you're interested in figuring that out, there's so many videos that talk about like how to micro Meepo essentially. I just wanted to focus kind of on like what makes this hero new and better now. Alright, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one, and I'm out.
And that's all, but remember, before you leave, come on, before you tune out, subscribe to the GameLeap website where we are going to help you get to the next rank. If you're stuck, click the link down below, and I'm out. Peace.